I'll call this why nutrition matters when it comes to addiction. And nutrition matters when it comes to addiction because when we're talking about addiction, a lot of times people are assuming drugs and alcohol, but drugs are medicines, and medicines are drugs, and alcohol is a medicine, and alcohol is a drug, basically. So medicines. Why do addictions matter? Why does nutrition matter when it comes to addictions and medicines? Because they're all dealing with your appetite. Stuff you take into your body, and your body appetite becomes accustomed to or may crave, or if you liked it, it may crave it again. That's why it's good to never try something that's potentially harmful to you. So, and all medicines have a degree of harm that they can bring to you. Even aspirin, Tylenol, uh, tea, green tea, black tea, even rooibos tea, some of the good teas that are diuretics, and that's a medicine when it's a diuretic. It's a medicine when it has caffeine. It's a medicine, just the same as other medicines. And so we've used demonization of medicines to play games. It's like we went from demonizing certain ethnicities to demonizing certain medicines, and they do different things. And some of them can be cause you to crave more, but really you crave caffeine. You crave a lot of times relief with Tylenol or something else. But they all have side effects, like if it's bad for your liver or too much can cause a heart attack, whether it hurts your memory and gives you headache withdrawals, muscle ache withdrawals. There's different things, right? So nutrition, though, if once you learn about nutrition, you help yourself know how to eat to help you not feel you need a medicine. You eat good and you know how to make yourself feel good. So it gets a little mixed up. It's hard to wean yourself off of caffeine products, but I've done it. I've done at times, and I've gone back to caffeine again. So, and at times I think it's a sin that I do it. At other times I think it's just, I needed a break, or it didn't hurt. It's not a big deal or whatever, but it usually has side effects I didn't like, right? And because I have a big appetite. So there are people, it's not just my sin. Gluttony is my sin. I was going to do a short video on that, but gluttony, I forget what it was, but it was going to be funny, sort of. But gluttony, technically, I would say gluttony is a weakness of mine. And not just because I lust after it, but because I was born that way. I think I was going to make a video saying that. I was born a glutton. I can't help it. And it's true to a degree because my physical chemistry, I have a bigger appetite than other people. My body can take more food than other people, and I don't know what it is. It may be my hormonal makeup. I don't know whether some people are a little different. It's not that I'm different, that I'm not human, not Superman, but in some ways I'm stronger than other people. I don't know if that affects my hormones or hormonally. I'm built to be stronger physically than other people. Not than everybody. There's a lot of people just like me who are strong like me, and so there's a lot of people in the world. So there's a whole lot of people that are like me and strong like me, and some of them are bullies, and I wouldn't want to mess with them because they're out to hurt you. I might be tempted to wrestle and see if I can be stronger than them, and at one point in time, not if I'm battling a hernia or something, but some of these people want to go for the kill, and I'm not really wanting to be in on that because they'll go for they can do it because the first person who gets the first punch wins a lot of times. So it's, how am I at 4 minutes? Nutrition matters. It matters a lot because you learn nutrition and you start learning a little bit about herbs. And then there's a lot of tricks out there. People define caffeine as healthy a lot of times, and even doctors do. And caffeine products are not healthy like a food is. They are healthy. They're a healthy choice as a medicine for more than one reason, because they're legal. I can tell you a lot of the problems that go along with medicines, illegal medicines, are the fact that they were illegal and they isolate people, and so that you can be you're vulnerable to predators, you're vulnerable to paranoia, to shame, and those things make you want to take a higher dose. Those are painful. Shame is a painful thought, and paranoia is a painful thought, and this feels like an escape from paranoia. So you drink a little harder so you don't feel paranoid. People do that. There's a lot of people that do it, and I'm not here for the people that want to criticize and call them scumbags. And I can handle mine. And I never get paranoid. I'm never and all this stuff. I don't care. Good for you. Good for you. Because partly some of those are like that because they don't care what anybody thinks. They don't care if they're part of the team, the team of trying to get along with society, and they don't care. And so maybe that's true, but also they say that to make people paranoid because they know it works a lot of times for people who feel are isolated and they do want to do right, but we got so many rules it's almost impossible to do right all the time. So do right by your neighbors, right? So to make peace and walk in harmony, we'll call it harmony. But so nutrition teaches you, like if you do, I did a fast for 16 days once. I've done a 4-day fast. I've done a 2-day fast. I've done a 1-day fast. I've done many 1-day fasts. I've done many, most of them for, they end up being for spirit. They end up being spiritual, having a spiritual effect and allowing me to pray more, think more, and not have much in my mind. It's like you got more time to think. Sometimes your energy's so low you can't really pray that well. And I've had fasts that made me feel that low, and I've had other fasts that weren't that hard. I just rested it off or had a day I could rest. And so it can be harder sometimes to do a fast when you're doing physical activity. I've done fasts when I was doing so much physical activity, I didn't have time to think about food. Did plenty of water, and those were by accident. But I was just so busy, I didn't have time to think. So I was able to fast and lose weight. But I've had experience with those, and I feel 19, like I'm 19 again after a fast, especially if it's 2 days or 4 days, and the 16-day fast. So the 16-day fast wasn't consecutive. It was eat a day, fast a day, eat a day, fast a day. So it was 8 days of fasting in that 16-day period, full days of fasting. And the other 8 days were only one meal a day at lunch. So I had extended my fast really a day and a half each time. The days of fasting were days and a half of fasting. And so I lost weight pretty fast, and people were shocked when they saw me that knew me at the time. So I did that to save. I was having trouble with a gallbladder, and it didn't fix it right away, but eventually it healed after that pretty quick. So, but it felt good, and I just saw that I was able to, in a place where I was able to rest some, did it like a vacation, 16 days of fasting. Studied, and I was able to study and write some. I don't know if I wrote a song during that time, but I was able to catch up on studying politics and philosophy and stuff a little bit. And I did that during that 16-day fast. So I have some experience as a lab rat and in studying what works. And some things work different for other people, but generally the good foods are the good foods and the bad foods are the bad foods, generally, for whoever. So sugar, I learned about sugar. It's good to learn about what sugar. It's good to learn what doesn't affect your insulin levels. It's good to learn what's most important. Carbs, I don't believe in no carbs. And, I can see where you could do something like that in some cases. But really, carbs, it's easy to eat too many carbs. And then that's one problem with carbs. And then feel like you can just eat and keep eating carbs. And so you don't need that many carbs. That's true. And but if you've been out starving somewhere and dehydrated, the first thing I've always craved is a carb like pizza or spaghetti or orange juice. When I've been majorly dehydrated, I want some orange juice or apple juice and pizza or spaghetti. Those are the main things you think about when you're dehydrated. So carbs, and what the first thing God would give people when they're out in the desert and starving would be bread, manna from heaven. Manna might mean food, but it usually meant bread, I think. So I'm not positive about that. But so it's good to know your body needs carbohydrates for energy, and good ones. Not bleached bread. It's good to know that exists. Get your real wheats, like get oatmeal, get grits, corn, get potatoes. That people talk about it. That's too much carbohydrate. They're too much starch. But potatoes are good. They clean out your body too. They absorb toxins in your body and carrying them out. And they're good if you've got food poison. So potatoes are a carb, and it has fibers in it. You wouldn't think of that. Beans are like a carb and a protein and a vegetable all in one. Various beans. Lentils are the easiest one to cook, and they have vitamin K, the green skin on them. You got those are the most absorbable proteins. Your body needs to absorb amino acids, and so beans apparently are already in the amino acid form and can bypass putting your liver to work. Your liver has to break down meats, it has to do work and break down meats into amino acids for your body to absorb them and create a protein. I don't know about the create a protein part, if I'm completely clear on that, but your body needs amino acids. Isoleucine, methionine, lysine. I forget all. It's been a while since I've studied that, but carnitine is a derivative of amino acids. And the carnitine comes in meat, but I think it's lysine and something else that creates carnitine. So I'm rusty. I need to review that. But it's really been quite a few years since I've studied it. So, but you need to know your nutrition and exercise. By the way, I should have said exercise, because it helps you know what it feels like to be sober. And when you do it, you want to try to leave out caffeine, and that's a hard one because it tastes good. Caffeine products taste good, and there could be a scientific trick to have caffeine products legal, because I really think we're a society that doesn't communicate, doesn't like to communicate, and we've been taught not to, and to be scared to, and to be offended by television, and naturally people have evil spirits and they want to degrade other people and do those things. That happens in real life, and I've been in cultures where you don't have as much TV and stuff, and there's a lot of sometimes there's meaner people in those situations because they've learned how to degrade people to get money. And and that's gangs and things like that have done that. We've done it through the drug cartel and through the medicine isolation. So the isolationists, that predators making money off of people with medicine, and really by intimidating, because they're bold enough and brave enough to carry the medicine around, and they know it's intimidating to other people to be around it. They like to use it as a tool of intimidation, and then to even act like if you're not in with this, then you're prejudiced, you're a sicko, judgmental, whatever. And if you don't want to be around medicine, if you're not using it, basically, if you're not using it, they don't trust you. They'll call you the police and all this stuff. Act like they're going to harm you because they think you're police if you don't smoke their drugs. That's worse than the drugs themselves, all that stuff. But that's the evil spirit of human beings who have exercised hatred, and barbarianism, thieving, swindling, prejudice. They're being prejudiced. Maybe they I don't know what the bottom line cause is of it. They're rejecting God, bottom line, to be that way. And so then they continue to like it, but they still feel brotherhood with the people they steal with and stuff like that. So they continue to qualify it because that's what feeds their family, their family and friends, in a sense. So I don't know, but that's not a lasting peace, and that's a small number of people to share your peace with, because they end up forming enmity with their own neighbors until it comes to another subject like politics. They all join together and support each other in that, but then if they cross each other's path in public, I don't know how it goes, because I mean somehow they all survive a lot of times. I don't mean survive, but they thrive, it seems. But I've been around those cultures. I've had uh, for various reasons, but not as a supporter of the methodology, not as a supporter of the business, the underground business. But I've been there. I've smoked. We'll put it like that. I've fallen in love with some of their women and stuff like that. Right. So it's not, and I've felt sorry for them and empathize with them because I feel like it's a sabotage system. I feel like the government or scientists have tricked people into creating that system and sabotaged them, and I feel like they're enslaved, not by addiction, but that lends towards dependency, lends towards it favors that. It helps them to be isolated into where they can be enslaved by people who are all about money and all about putting people out of housing and rental slavery, everything else. There's a lot. It's hard to explain it, but there's a lot of domino effects. So generally, I view them as being enslaved to a bad system. So so I've seen it. But nutrition, being into nutrition, sometimes is a good excuse, and it doesn't work with these people. You tell them, look, I'm trying to stay healthy and I'm into nutrition. I'm trying to get into bodybuilding and all this. They don't want to hear that. They're not going to listen to a word of it. They don't care. They don't care. You tell them, I don't want to be around it. If somebody you've been around, they don't want to hear it. Well, get out. Don't come around me if you're not going to do something and you don't got money. They'll say that kind of stuff, and they're like, they don't even care that you want it. Most of them. It's not all of them now, but there's a lot of them. They don't want to hear that. Okay, I sing. I can't smoke because I can't sing after I smoke. They don't care. You tell them that, they don't care. The only thing you can do is stay away from them. Unfortunately, so they never get to hear the truth. They won't let you speak it anyway. So most of them really do have a very barbaric and hateful and attitude, and they think this, but they're looking at it. Maybe they can be that hateful because they look at it like it's their only source of income. It's the only way they can survive. Some of them have that view. They really do have that view, and that's the way they really feel about it. And it's been proven in a way, because you'd be surprised how hard the other side of society is. That is what I call the Pharisee side, that they don't let people have opportunities. They don't want somebody with a backpack around. They don't want if somebody's. So a lot of people that have been around those cultures have been robbed and become homeless because they got robbed, not because of an addiction. And people think it's always an addiction. It's almost never an addiction that got somebody to where they lost house and home, unless they were kicked out because of that. But it's because they got robbed, and a lot of them, and that's even for people that only did it once in a while. They'll get robbed so big they can't. People steal their wallets, their license, their social security cards, and their methods of payment, and drain their whole bank account. They'll do that in one shot. So nutrition matters, though, because it helps you stay away from that stuff. Helps, and whether you stay away from it at first all the time, eventually you have the capability of learning that, man, I can feel really good, and if I need to self-medicate, I know how to do it a little safer. Now, you always have to think, well, I'm going to have withdrawal symptoms from coffee. It can make me a little weaker for wanting to, once I'm going through withdrawals, to want to give in to an old habit that from the streets that could be tempting. If you get insomnia or get in an argument or something dramatic happens, you might want to escape and run to that. If you're still dealing with bills and poverty, being in debt, which is worse than poverty. So you're being in debt and you're thinking there's no way you'll ever get out of debt, and it doesn't look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. We'll put it like that. But you're supposed to keep going and hope you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel someday. Well, you're not seeing that light. And so people relapse at that point, and they feel like, and some of the street medicines are a bigger escape than other ways. But the problem is they put you back further in the tunnel, further from that light at the end of the tunnel again. That's the problem with the street stuff. So if you can do it, then it's not the street stuff that as much as it is the dealing groups and the other some of the regular smokers or users, we'll call it. Users of the street medicines that are not good medicines. They're if they had legal forms that were safer, some of them would be actually, I think, would be some of the better than psychiatric medicines. I personally believe the coca leaf is probably the best medicine for depression. The coca leaf tea, like 2 leaves in a tea, it'd be not much as powerful as coffee. I might be wrong about that, but it's not going to be as bad as what's in the streets, I guarantee you, if they did that. But so I believe those are out there, and that's hard to rationalize, agreeing with demonizing stuff like that. And it's ignorant to act like anything's that bad that somebody can consume. But it is if somebody does too much of it and it's too strong, and they do make it too strong in the streets, and they make it too strong and try to make a fool out of people. And they'll tell you everything different before you do it. And I'm not going to say every one of them have bad intentions that way, but it's just a lot of tricks. So that's why you need to know nutrition and exercise And that is an excuse to tell people. If you can tell them from a distance, you're on a nutritional routine. But you get your rest. Um, People who are into nutrition and feeling good may never for the need, fall into an area, a way of feeling to where they need to use a medicine at all at a doctor or anything. There's some people, if you can do good nutrition your whole life and stay away from gluttony and be able to monitor and master that, then these are issues some people never would have to deal with, the medicine issues. But there are people who can do nutrition perfectly, their whole life. Anybody could, and still have something bad happen to where they need a medicine, whether it's an accident or they can still get cancer. You can still get different forms of cancer even if you have good nutrition. Sometimes it's genetic, somewhat, or it can be from something else or whatever. But and then people have to deal with maybe getting addicted to a medicine if they're going to the hospital for cancer treatment, chemotherapy. But if you've practiced good nutrition and build good habits, so you know how to get off it. You know what it feels like to feel good. The other part is you know what it feels like to feel good, like I say. And but if you, I meant to say that twice, by the way. But if you know what it feels like to feel good because of good nutrition, then you don't want to relapse as much. So you may still have some emotional or depression type things going on, and these are good things. Your Bible says to bring your body to subjection, and there's a lot of people that say, "Don't teach this stuff. Don't teach good nutrition, because you're supposed to just obey and bring your body into subjection with discipline, like a soldier." I think you should use every tool in the arsenal of the earth that you can to help yourself stay clean. If you're trying to stay clean, and especially if you've been pre-exposed to different things, and to stay off caffeine too. And I do play tricks to stay off caffeine all the time. I do mix juice with milk instead of I like my sweet drink caffeines. Caffeinated drinks sweet. So instead of doing that, I'll do juice and milk mixed sometimes. So, but you should use every tool you can to stay medicine free as much as possible. Even if you feel you have to take aspirin, Tylenol, that spread it out. Do it one day. Well, people will say you can't tell them that. I've had some doctors who agree with me on doing aspirin one day. If you're going to do NSAIDs, and if you need ibuprofen for a swollen knee or something, do ibuprofen the next day. So you're staggering. The purpose is to stagger the ibuprofen. Do Tylenol the next day. If you have to do the aspirin every day, baby aspirin, do ibuprofen one day with it, and do Tylenol the next day with it. Ibuprofen the next day, Tylenol the next day, and then the third day maybe do a naproxen. Some people don't know what that is, but those are NSAIDs. But every NSAID, all NSAIDs can potentially cause heart attack, except for aspirin. It helps you prevent a heart attack. So, but if you do too much of it, that doesn't mean it will help you prevent it. It may cause a blood clot, or I forget, but a stroke, a heart attack, because you're thinning your blood way too much. Internal bleeding. You'll get internal bleeding. If you do aspirin, it's a blood thinner. Technically, they say it's not officially a blood thinner like the powerful blood thinners, but it is. If you do a lot of aspirin or ibuprofen, and you're blowing your nose, you're going to see blood come out your nose, or wherever you can cut yourself and you'll bleed a lot faster for a small cut that normally wouldn't make you bleed. That's from aspirin. It thins your blood. So it's good to learn those things and know that sometimes when you have withdrawal headache from caffeine, for example, you can use a Tylenol. You can use a Tylenol and ibuprofen or aspirin. And some people say don't use both, but I use half a dose of each, especially if Tylenol, because I don't want my liver stuff going wrong with my liver. And you got to do ibuprofen with food, because it will eat a hole in your stomach and your gut and all that. So you do it with food. You got to know those things. That's what part of nutrition is. You learn all those things with medicine too. You mix the medicine stuff in, assuming we should be educated about it. But if you've never had a problem, including with aspirin including, you want to abstain from drugs, including aspirin, Tylenol, and abstain from chocolate, caffeinated teas, and coffee. If I had children, I wouldn't want to ever introduce them to chocolate, coffee, or tea. If they want to do that later on, they can. But they're not going to miss it if they never have it. The problem is, once you have it, if you liked it at all, there's going to be times where you miss it. And that's the same thing it is that's your physical appetite and your emotional appetite as connected to your physical appetites. Same thing applies to medicines. It's like a food, you miss it the same way. So that's the problem. Well, I don't think it's a fair law, because that's not really a fair law to make what you want to eat or what you want to take into your body illegal, as long as it's not a killer, something that can kill you automatically. So that you could make it illegal. So, for instance, you could make the strongest forms of medicine illegal and put it in doctors' hands only. So some of those medicines can be used in surgery, for example, or they can be used after surgery for pain. But there are certain forms, I've heard that there's certain forms of cocaine that can pop your heart right away. Some of the most powerful, most pure. But I don't know. I mean, that existed back in the 80s. And I don't think there's anything so pure anymore. That I'm sure there is. And so but it's not a drug that's meant to pop your heart. But if it's that strong, though, it will be, because it must be a concentrated form all in one spot. It can pop your heart, right? But caffeine can pop your heart too, cause you to have a heart attack. And if you do caffeine pills, you'll die from caffeine pills. So, but they do have caffeine pills. I guess they still have the regular caffeine pills, and the people will take them sometimes to stay awake and avoid taking the drinks because they dehydrate you, to avoid dehydration. But caffeine pills, I don't like. They're too strong. But I have done herbal remedies with caffeine, pills with caffeine, that is extracted from green tea, because you don't want caffeine pills that are made in China or something and are synthetic. You want it to be natural from tea. But sometimes you don't want the tea because the tannins hurt your bones in the teas. And so these are a lot of things that you learn when you study nutrition that helps people who deal with addictions, dependencies, or we'll call it an appetite. People who deal with having an appetite for medicines, and it's not always addiction. I don't know. I mean, I'll say, is it an addiction for me to take aspirin? I take aspirin knowing I've had a blood clot before from an injury, though, in my knee. Had a blood clot on my calf muscle. That's scary. It's painful. It can go to your heart and kill you. So I've taken aspirin pretty consistently, and I don't feel many effects from it, but I just know I'm safer from a blood clot if I take aspirin. I've worn sleeves on my calf muscles because that helps a blood clot go down to your feet. And so I've done a lot of walking, and my knee, what it does, it rubs together and it can pinch the blood vessel. Once it swells, if I've done a lot of walking, it can pinch the blood vessel and cause a blood clot. And so that's a danger to me. All right. And so I have also in my other leg, I have some blockage in some vein. I've never had it tested, but I know I have a blockage, a little bit of maybe it's calcium, I don't know, but it's from an injury I had once, not an injury, but an overdose. Ever since I had an overdose or something, there's been something wrong in a vein in one of my legs. If I do too much caffeine, it comes back. My leg feels numb. I feel like I'm going to have a stroke or something, or a hemorrhage. I don't know. Sorry about the itchy nose. But so I've done aspirin pretty steadily, but my preference would be to stay sober off it. But I don't notice much effects in any ways from aspirin. Just know I feel safer when I'm having a haunting issue with any of my legs and the circulation in my legs. So anyway, we're running out of time, and I didn't get to the basic nutrition, but I'm going to try to touch on it real fast. You got carbs, you got proteins, you got fiber, and water. You need water, and then you need to know your juices. You need to know all the preservatives they put in foods now. There's more to learn about nutrition today than there used to be, because you have to unlearn. You got to learn that they used all this bad stuff they put in foods, and learn tricks to try to get good stuff. And then it's hard to find anything for a good price. So you have to sacrifice and take some of those things if you're trying to save money, but do it the good way. I got to go. Bye.